Are we live? Hello, hello. So how are you doing, Rob?
I think it's still loading.
Okay.
Is that your banter?
It's very windy.
There we go.
There we go.
Now we're live.
As soon as I noticed we were live,
Commence the
banter.
banter.
That was good banter, too.
That was great banter. Yeah.
Well, I hope that everyone in the Houston area is doing well and is prepared, and we're wearing our Astros shirt tonight. Rob, what was the score last time we checked?
Last time I checked, we were losing our second game of the doubleheader, but hopefully we can, pull it out.
We're going to come back. Mm-hmm. I have faith in the Astros, so just like I have faith that the hurricane's not going to come too close to us, but we're ready. We're ready. So tonight, Rob, you want to announce our topic?
Sure. It's paying for long-term care. Something that everybody likes to do.
And likes to talk about, too.
Yeah.
Nothing gets you ready for a nursing home, or for a hurricane, like talking about a nursing home placement. That's okay. So if you are following along, if you go to the Law Office of Christina Lesher Facebook page, there's a little video there that has some slides. This topic we're going to talk about tonight is a little dense and a little complicated, so I like a good PowerPoint presentation, and you can follow along and go back and take a look at it. But how I became an elder law attorney was Rob and I, we were caring for our grandfather, and we helped take care of him. We brought in home care, and we ended up having to apply for Medicaid for our grandfather to help keep him out of a nursing home, and that really inspired me to become an elder law attorney. And I don't know, was that part of why you worked in facilities?
Yeah, I just like helping people, and I got that from helping my grandfather.
And so the one thing you need to know about Rob is that he was able to bathe our grandfather and was so sweet and kind to him. So you did a really good job with Grandpa Streeter.
Well, thank you.
You did. You did. So we have personal experience with this. It definitely was something that was, I don't want to say a traumatic experience, but it was pretty difficult because we didn't really know exactly what we were doing and how to pay for it. So one of the things we quickly learned was the limitations of Medicare, and that Medicare does not pay for nursing home care, nor does it pay for home care on a long-term basis. So that's why we ended up looking at the Texas Medicaid program. And Rob, we have so many families that are just shocked by how much things cost. So talk to me. Tell everyone, if you're just going to start with like simple home care and you're paying out of pocket, what should people expect?
Sure. So if we're just talking about daily attended care, so that's care that's not specialized, it's not nursing care, it's people who can help you with your activities of daily living, which are dressing, cooking, cleaning, eating, things like that. If you go through a service, you're talking $22 to $25 an hour.
Yep.
If you hire privately, which means you're taking all the responsibility of criminal background checks, filling shifts that people call in sick for, things like that, it's more around $15 an hour. So as you can see, that really can add up, very quickly.
Yeah. And then what if someone was going to do, say, an assisted living facility? What kind of monthly charge or fees should that family expect?
Well, like as you like to say, Houston's based on realty.
So real estate.
So really, when you're talking about assisted living, independent living, even nursing homes come in fact, it's like, where are we talking about?
Yeah.
Are we talking about downtown Houston? Or are we talking about where we're from, the Huntsville? Really, but we're finding the general amount for nursing homes is around $45,000 to $5,000 just for the base rate.
Okay.
And so say if your loved one has any special needs, a ventilator, a lot of incontinence care, daily aids, things like that, you can easily start going into $7,000 a month and all the way up to $20,000 a month.
Yeah, but what about the assisted living? So like people think, I don't want to place my loved
living?
one in a facility, and they go look at these assisted living facilities, and they have the beautiful chandelier and all the activities.
It depends on how big a place you want. So do you want a 2-bedroom because you're trying to go from a 5,000 square foot house to still try to fit in there? That's going to be probably around $5,000 to $6,000 a month. If you're just going for like a regular studio, which is quite small, talking 400 square feet, that's still going to be for around $4,000, $3,500 a month.
Yeah. And by the way, none of these costs are paid for by Medicare. So even if you've been a saver your whole life, you have your loved one, your spouse has some type of medical issue, they go to the hospital, they get discharged, maybe they go to assisted living, maybe they go to nursing home, they're going to need to expect a lot of out-of-pocket every month.
Oh yeah, and that's just your base rate. So if you're not talking about going out and doing things, eating out, if you need extra caretakers. So these are the things that can even add up more, for your monthly costs.
And we see that a lot in our office with the assisted living facilities, especially where the families are told, well, it's $3,500 a month. They think, oh, okay, we maybe be able to swing that. Then, because they a la carte the services over that, oh, well, your loved one can't take their meds. It's an extra $500. Oh, you need help going to the dining hall. That's an extra $500.
Oh, don't forget our community fee that
and the community fee.
So there's all these different fees that are associated with these services that you really have to start prying into and asking about before you sign that contract.
Yes, and then we talked a little bit about nursing home care and costs. So if you're following along at home with the slides, we're moving on to our next one. And that's how do we pay for care? And we talked a little bit about paying for care out of your pocket, but that can be very expensive, especially if you've got maybe one spouse in the facility and then another spouse at home. So you're really paying for two households.
Right.
I mean, I can see someone spending $10,000, $15,000 a month, maybe between those two households and another.
Oh yeah, because your regular households costs don't go away.
Right.
And really, when we're taking calls from people, who are calling us and asking questions, a lot of their main concern is how do I pay for my loved one's care? How do I not impoverish myself?
That's right. That's right. So private pay, taking money out of your own bank account, and then long-term care insurance. Which, it can be a little bit of a hit and miss. Sometimes people purchased it or they bought it, and it's the kind of long-term care insurance policy that only pays for nursing home care or only pays for $150 a month, $150 a day. So it may not pay for everything.
Right.
And then if someone's looking at purchasing long-term care insurance, what I see is they may be at retirement age. They're going from getting a paycheck to not getting a paycheck. They may not be able to afford those long-term care insurance premiums once they reach retirement. But I know we like at least to have that option, meaning using long-term care insurance if it's available, because sometimes it helps us find better facilities.
Oh yeah, and it really opens up avenues for different places, different facilities. It frees up capital for extra care, for specialized care. So there's things like that we can bring in if we have that long-term care insurance already paid.
And so Medicare is an insurance policy that I think most Americans are comfortable with and know about. Just a couple little points is that typically Medicare pays for 80% of those Medicare approved charges. Most people, have a supplemental, or they may be on a Medicare Advantage plan to pick up that 20%. And then we use Medicaid, which you and I have heard all the stigma and all the kind of misinformation.
Oh, it can't be for me.
I know. And what I try to tell clients is that there are special rules for married people to allow married couples to keep more assets and qualify for Medicaid. And then we also have veterans benefits. And a lot of people are surprised, oh, my dad never served in the war, he never served overseas, and they're surprised to find out that benefits may still be eligible.
Yeah.
So, and we'll talk a little bit about VA benefits here in a second. But I want to go over and start with our Medicaid. I love to say Medicaid is like baking a cake. You have to have all the ingredients at the right time. We have our income test. And that says that the person who's applying for Medicaid has to have less than $23.49 in gross monthly income. If they're over, that's okay. We can what we call fix it with a Miller Trust. And that's all I'm going to say about that because it's really almost that simple.
Yeah, and it really is just to fix the income, correct?
That is correct. You cannot put any assets in a Miller Trust. I remember my first day of law school, I had this guy walk up to me and goes, oh, you want to be one of those elder law attorneys and hide money in a Miller Trust? And I'm like, no one would ever put an asset in a Miller Trust. It's only for income. But that was probably too technical for him. I think he was just trying to give me a hard time. Law students like to do that. And then for our asset test, and that's the big concern we have, you said that so beautifully earlier, which is sometimes the healthier spouse, what we call the community spouse, is worried about impoverishing themselves. Or maybe their adult children are worried about mom or dad impoverishing themselves.
especially if it's a second marriage.
Especially if it's a second marriage, or a third, or a fourth.
That's another topic.
That, we'll talk about that. I need an adult beverage to talk about the second marriage issues. I assure you everything in my cup tonight is water. So when you apply for Medicaid, Medicaid divides the things that people own into two categories, an accountable asset and an exempt asset. Exempt assets are typically worth $0, or they are worth $0, and that would include usually the house, one car, personal needs, pre-need funeral contract, burial plot. Am I missing anything? Okay. Accountable assets will be everything else. And just if you're at home and you're making notes, make a little note to say, ask about IRAs. It's too complicated of a subject to try to do it in a Facebook Live video, but there have been some new good rule changes finally to help the IRAs of a person who is taking out RMD. So the rules have gotten better. And as our little slide says, this is not an exhaustive list, but there are some assets that do not count. And then, of course, our next test is your favorite.
Oh, the medical test.
The medical test.
Yeah, and so when we're talking about Medicaid, it depends on what Medicaid program we're looking at.
That's right.
You really want someone to be able who can come in, capture all your loved one's medical care needs, and be able to give them the right language to speak to the Medicaid representatives. So that way they are getting the right message to them. Because a lot of times, especially with our loved ones, we want to kind of cushion what's going on. But this time when we were talking about medical necessity, we're not cushioning. It's what's going on our worst day.
Yeah. And
we want to make sure that that gets across to them so they know exactly how much help we need.
So what would kind of a typical client that we have going on with them medically to meet this medical necessity test?
The one way that we mostly do that is they can't take their own medications. So they have some kind of prescribed medication, that they don't know what it is or when they're supposed to take it or what dosages you're supposed to take. And there's someone obviously who is packing their meds, who's reminding them what to take. And that's really one of the main ways we can reach that medical necessity.
And I think families, after they do this for their loved ones for so long, they don't see it as they're contributing to someone taking their medications.
Right.
Oh yeah, they take their own meds.
They don't see they're doing a nurse's job, but that's really what they're doing.
And that is a nurse's job, because under the Texas Occupations Code, you have to be a nurse to administer medication. We could go on about that topic for hours, but we don't want to bore people at home any more than they already are. So what kind of nursing home? Can anybody just go to any old nursing home they want to go to?
No, they have to have a Medicaid bed.
Yeah.
Now, this is not a...
Can I go out and buy a Medicaid bed?
No, there's no such thing as an actual bed that's It's just a slot that the nursing home has that says this is a spot for a person who's on Medicaid. And we want to make sure that they're in that Medicaid bed, that they're in that slot, so that way they're eligible for the Medicaid benefits.
And so one thing that, Rob, that you do that I think is so helpful for clients is when we have someone go to a hospital and the family's getting ready to discharge that person to rehab and they're getting discharged on Medicare, you will find them a facility that takes both Medicare and Medicaid.
Yes.
And then what happens?
Then what we try to do is move from the Medicare days and then straight to Medicaid.
Yes.
And if we can do that, one, they don't change facilities, which is a trauma. We want to make sure they stay in the same place, that they see the same people, but they get good care. And we can switch from that short-term skill to that long-term Medicaid program.
And that's such an important take-home, everybody. We know when you go to the hospital, or your loved one goes to the hospital, you will have a very short period of time to make discharge plans. If you can ahead of time, or while your loved one's in the hospital, figure out what rehab they're going to go to. If you think you're going to need Medicaid, go ahead and Get a facility that has Medicaid.
No, get a couple facilities in your
Yes.
pocket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially right now during times of COVID, there's different eligibilities. So that sometimes some nursing homes might be accepting people, some might be COVID wings. So you really need to kind of call and figure out what that particular nursing home is doing right at that moment.
Right.
And sometimes that place might be good now, but it might not be good later.
And I think that's true even during non-COVID times. We kind of have our favorites for a little while, and then it may move to a different facility. Before we leave this Medicaid slide or topic, I just want to relay to everyone that the best way to start the Medicaid process is to start Medicaid at home with a program that's called Star Plus Waiver. And Rob, do you mind throwing that up in the comments for me? And what Star Plus Waiver does is it provides 30 to 50 hours a week of home care. And what happens is that the Medicaid program wants to build at home a lot of the services that someone would receive in a skilled nursing facility, but they're going to get them at home. And then the families can hire their own caregivers. So it's a great program. Married couples get to keep way more assets. The trick is, number one, you got to get on the interest list because there's a wait list. And right now, the wait list is moving very slow, if at all. So go ahead, put your loved one on that interest list, and then we throw up, they need to call 211.
Already got you.
Of course you did. You took that Christina mind reading class.
It's a long class.
It is a long 42-year class. So I love Star Plus Waiver because, number one, there's less that a person may have to spend down of those countable assets. Because when you apply for Medicaid, a married couple doesn't get to keep unlimited countable assets. So under Star Plus Waiver, we get to keep more. And once you're eligible for Medicaid under Star Plus Waiver, you don't have to spend down again. Okay? So that's so important.
Yeah.
If you're a single person, then the countable asset cap is $2,000. Don't let that scare you folks at home. There are ways that we can legally meet that criteria, especially if you've got an adult disabled child, a minor child. There's lots of different ways that we can get there if it's appropriate. So, yeah.
And being already on the Star Plus Waiver makes finding a nursing home a lot easier because you already have long-term care benefits.
That's right.
So the nursing home is more like, oh yes, please come in. We know your payment is secured.
And the other benefit to Star Plus Waiver, just in case we haven't sold them all, I even have a speech that I gave to a bunch of lawyers, and it's called Star Plus Waiver, the greatest home care program ever. Okay, so if I haven't brought it home, Star Plus Waiver will also pay for medical expenses that maybe your Medicare policy and your Medicare supplement did not pick up. So there is no reason for people not to put their loved one's name on the interest list, especially if they do not have long-term care insurance. Our mom has been on the Star Plus Waiver interest list for at least a decade.
Nobody tell her.
Oh, she does. I don't think she likes it, but she knows.
So we talked about how Medicaid is scary. So explain a little bit more about what preconceptions do people have about that?
Well, there's a lot of bad Medicaid information going on in the church parking lot, as we talked about, law school parking lots, and the beauty salon. So the top Medicaid myth is Medicaid is going to take everything you own. You don't have to be totally impoverished. Not true. As we've just talked about, married couples get to keep more what we call countable assets, and that number is based on a very complicated calculation that requires a calculator. So we're not going to do that here tonight. The next one is Medicaid will come take your house. And I think one of the saddest cases I've seen in my practice is a gentleman whose name was Moses. Had his wife in a nursing home, and he did not apply for Medicaid because a person who worked at the nursing home said, Moses, if you apply for Medicaid, Medicaid's going to come get your house when your wife dies. And that is not true. There is something called Medicaid estate recovery, but if there's a surviving spouse, Medicaid never can come get that house unless the surviving spouse also applies for Medicaid. And he had basically spent down his life savings
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I remember about Moses? He would grow these huge vegetables and bring them to our office. He brought me a cucumber that was like this big.
It's a big cucumber.
It was an amazing. He had big pumpkins. How do you do that? How do you grow vegetables that big? It was up by Trinity. Maybe there's something in the water there. Better. There's less pollution.
Better soil.
There's less pollution in Trinity.
What are some others that they have?
You should have done something 5 years ago.
Man, it's 5 years too late.
Yeah, we don't have a DeLorean to go back to the future. No, you did need to do something 5 years ago. In fact, it's probably better if you didn't do something 5 years ago, especially give money away. Because there is something called a 5-year look-back period, which says if you've given away assets, then Medicaid may say, you're not going to be eligible. But we call that a rebuttable presumption, meaning if we have a good reason why we did it and we did not do it to qualify for Medicaid, it still might be okay. Okay, do the next one about who can do Medicaid planning, because that really gets me going.
Yes, so oftentimes I'm out speaking in the community, and people will come up to me like, so I'm talking to this Medicaid specialist who's helping me through the process.
That gets me going right there.
And I'm like, a Medicaid specialist. So in the state of Texas, only attorneys can give Medicaid advice, correct?
And charge a fee for it.
Anybody
can give advice. It may not be correct, and it usually isn't unless it's a lawyer, and especially an elder law attorney, because we have sometimes lawyers get bad Medicaid advice. But if someone's charging you a fee, they better be an attorney to give you Medicaid advice. And if they're not giving you if they are giving you Medicaid advice, and you are not paying for it, that's legal, but you are getting exactly what you paid for, which is nothing. So get an attorney involved that is familiar with the Medicaid program. I've been practicing law now 17 years, and I will tell you, I've seen so many changes over the last almost 2 decades that this is all we do. We don't try to do family law. We don't try to do real estate. All we do is focus on this because that is enough.
Yeah, and I would say when you're looking for someone to help you, if you're looking for an attorney, ask those questions when you're calling them. What else do they handle? And if it's something that's not really inside their, if it's not guardianship or estate planning or probate, you need to think about are they keeping up with the current laws?
If they do family law, bankruptcy, personal injury, and Medicaid planning, I would go somewhere. There's no way. No way. Okay. The other myth is you should give your money away or your house away.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. We have that 5-year look-back period that we talked about. Veterans benefits. Veterans benefits are for the surviving spouse of a veteran or veteran who served at least 90 days, had an honorable discharge, and served at least 1 day during a period of war. And the big question we get is, Dad didn't serve boots on the ground in Korea.
Well, that doesn't matter always.
Nope. As long as it was during a period of war, and you can go to the VA.org, and that information is listed on that slide on our Facebook page. You can see where the periods of war. They just had to serve for 90 days, have an honorable discharge. And what the VA benefits are, and they're like the VA system is like an apartment complex. And this particular program we're talking about is the VA aid attendance or improved pension. And it is a cash benefit to reimburse families for those medical expenses that they're not covered by insurance. And that would be like caregivers, because as you talked about, we didn't spend a lot of money on those caregivers.
Oh, yeah, very easily, yeah.
Absolutely. So the VA is meant to reimburse. And the income and asset test is very complex. We're not going to try to do this on Facebook Live, but there is a very complex income and asset test. The VA is now assessing a penalty period or loss of eligibility for gifts that are made, and that's a recent change. And then, Rob, there's also a medical test. So will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so really what we want to see is how much help do they need throughout the day. Are your loved ones, are they taking their medications like we discussed during the Medicaid? How much help they need with their activities of daily living, and really that goes to how much are they spending for that person. And what we really want to talk about is when you're at, so say if you're looking for veterans benefits and you're in independent living, classically independent living isn't really considered, care. You're still in the community. But if you're at independent living and you're getting help with more than two, two activities a day of living, that will actually include, you can include that cost as your medical expenses.
Yeah, so you can get reimbursed for that. So the trick about the VA is that you need to do it sooner than later. A lot of times what happens is we see clients delay to where their loved one has gotten so sick or so deteriorated that they really need a nursing home.
Yeah.
And then Medicaid becomes the better option because the VA, it's going to be cash. It's going to be capped out at the amount that the family gets.
And it takes a long time to go through the
It
process.
takes so long. I never was surprised. The government takes a long time.
Imagine.
The VA, although they've gotten a little better,
Yeah.
I don't like if anyone's at the VA, we have noticed, and then I just wanted to make sure everyone sees that website, and then I think that's it for tonight.
Yeah.
So, as the slide says, there's no attorney-client relationship until you sign a contract and pay us a fee, and then Rob lets the number if someone wants to call and book an appointment where they can get more Rob and Christina in their lives.
Everybody wants more Rob and Christina in their
There
lives.
is never enough.
Not enough. Please call us at 713-529-5900. I'll be happy to talk to you. Any people at our office who answer the phone.
We have the best team, by the way.
Definitely the best team.
I'm not trying to brag, but we are number one. Okay. Do we have any questions up there? I don't see who.
Let's see. Lori Mann is there. Hello, Lori. Thank you for noticing our Astros theme.
Yes.
Miss Tugger says.
Yes.
That is very important about the long-term care insurance premiums.
Yes.
Please keep up your payments because they'll drop you. They'll find a reason. They'll drop you as soon as they can.
They would love to drop you. And then if you do have long-term care insurance, make sure that you have an updated contact with a long-term care insurance company so that if you don't pay your premiums, they're supposed to send it to a backup contact so you can continue making those payments.
Yeah, and if you move, let them know. Same thing with the Medicaid.
Yes,
with veterans. With veterans, if you move and you're on an interest or a wait list, let them know.
Or you're trying to apply for any public benefits, you need to keep that information up. Do you want to talk about the Whataburger?
Oh, I love Whataburger. So, if you...
When you don't want to talk about it. By the way, what we were talking about before we went on is that we found out the Whataburger Junior with double meat only has 470 calories. I think I could do that for lunch.
I like the regular number one with mayonnaise instead of mustard with cheese.
No, you don't. That's
Yeah.
No one wants mayonnaise on a hamburger.
I like it.
But do you
Anyway.
have cheese?
Sure,
Do you eat cheese?
Yeah.
Do you do fries or onion rings?
Fries.
All right. We can put out spicy ketchup?
Yeah, I like spicy ketchup.
All right, there we go. Okay.
So if you share and like our post today, please share it. If you
share and tag us. Someone doesn't do Facebook.
I don't do Facebook. Share and tag us. And the people will pick 2 random people who share and tag us, and we'll send them a $25 gift certificate to Whataburger.
Yes. And then Whataburger sounds amazing, but I'm going to go eat my turkey meatloaf. Gross. All right, anything else? Oh, we got to announce our next Facebook Live. Hold on. I can't put it. All right, our next Facebook Live is going to be Tuesday, September 8th at 8:30, same time, same place, and the topic is going to be, what is your estate planning style? Are you a fancy person? Do you like to go to fancy stores? I went to Tootsie's on Kirby Drive, and they wanted $300 for a white t-shirt. I'm not a fancy person. I am a Target person. I like going into Target and buying 3 t-shirts.
Your Cherokee Morona.
Don't make fun of my Cherokee Morona. Don't make fun of my Cherokee Morona.
Well, thank you everybody
So,
for
hold on, my question.
Okay.
So, what is your estate planning? Are you a fancy person or a simple person? So we're going to talk about estate planning things that families, married couples, if you have kids, especially if you have 2 children and you're working and you need to get those estate planning documents done and you don't know where to start, we're going to give you some great tips as well as another giveaway. So everybody stay safe out there. Thank you so much for joining us. Go Astros.
Yeah, go Astros.
Go Astros.
And go Mayo. Elizabeth agrees with me.
Yay!
Good night, guys.
Bye, all.